And we are live. And this is our month 2 synchronous meeting. We always have that synchronous meeting in 4th week. So hard to believe we're already at like, what, 8 weeks. As you guys come in, just make sure you're muted. I love to have your cameras on because I love to see your smiling faces. But if you're in an internet situation that causes issues, I totally understand. We are here for the next hour. And we're going to take a look at this next section of curriculum that we've been doing this month, which is the building a strong coaching team and culture. So we're not done with that. We still have all this week, in our month 2. So we don't start month 3 until next Monday. So with some of the stuff we talk about today, if you're feeling like you're behind or anything like that, don't worry about it. You've got some time now to take a look through that. It's about, they tell you it takes 2 hours to get through that unit. That's if you do every single solitary thing they tell you to do. Of course, I'm not saying not to do that, but some of the things you kind of smile and, just kind of, I understand, and you move on. So it'll probably be less than that for you, but that'll give you the overview of what we're doing this month. All right, so to get us started off, just recapped a little bit of what we did. I did not give you guys a discussion last week. Usually our 3rd week is another discussion or some kind of an activity. I just felt like, you know what, that's just plain silly, especially when I looked at what it was. It was like, it was talking about bright spots and things like that. And I'm like, you know what, here's a bright spot. Let's all take a break for a week on Christmas break. Woo! Yeah. So that's what we did. So if that's something that you feel like you need to go back and do, by all means, you can go back and read it. But I feel like we're okay without that. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday break. And I know most of you are probably back in the saddle again today in one way or another, right? Right. Okay, so we, on Google Vouchers, I wanted to really quickly talk about that. And I know Mark is on our call as well. And we were just texting, and basically, and Mark kind of pop in and tell, fix up what I'm saying if I'm saying it wrong here. But Google has kind of launched a whole new platform for their certifications. It was supposed to be like live as of January 1st. I have no idea if it actually has gone live or if they're on time with that. But that was one of the reasons they told us that they didn't give us vouchers that went later than the December 31st time. And that we're still waiting to hear from them on what that process looks like for vouchers for this new system. Okay, so we don't have a lot of answers yet. We certainly are going to have something figured out. I think with them starting off this new thing and everything else, no one has the answers yet. So as soon as we get them, we will let you know what that is. Did anybody on the call, you can raise your hand or do the raise hand on the meet, did you do the tests? Have you already done the test with our 33 people that are here? I see a couple hands. I heard a couple little claps. Okay, so some people have. All right, good. So we'll continue to look at that. And I also want to apologize. I wanted very much so to do a meeting prior to that deadline about the certifications, and that just plain didn't happen. So I apologize to you guys. It's a blur. It just feels like a blur before break, and I feel so much better. I feel like after that kind of the 2 weeks of holidays and stuff, that I could get my brain away from things and kind of shake things back down again. And I feel so much better starting off this week. I hope you guys are feeling that same way. I feel like, yeah, I'm ready to get back at it again. So I will definitely do that once we know what's going on. So, and we did have some people that did it, so I will ask them to join us too, so they can share their experiences as well. I know Sarah Wood said she would do that for us, and I'm sure there's a couple others out there that would do it as well. So with that, any questions to do with that stuff? Okay, then we will move on. So our activity for tonight is kind of going around this idea of building that team. And I know that most everybody there has different situations. You know, like for example, for me, I'm a director of technology. So my job is not just to coach every day. You know, that's something that I do, but I certainly don't do that all the time. Even I have an instructional tech coordinator, Cresta, who I see you, hi, who does that for our Penfield schools. And even when that's her job title, I mean, she does not coach every single day. That there's a lot of other things that gets on her plate. Not many of us have the luxury of just focusing just on that. And if you do, woo, that is awesome. So I think one of the biggest things that happens here is how do we get this going and what does that look like? So that's what we're going to focus on tonight. So the first thing they wanted us to do was to watch this little video that was a 1 minute and 47-second video that was in section 5 of this curriculum this month, Making Time for Coaching. You've probably, if you've gone through it, you've already read it. I'm going to bypass that because I didn't feel like there was like really any major information there that made me go, oh, we've got to have this. And probably you've already listened to it anyway. So I'm going to jump right into this little exercise that they have us doing. So if you have a piece of paper, grab yourself a piece of scrap paper or something like that, and they want you to fold that piece of paper in half to give you 2 sides to write on. Now, my theory is that it should be up and down like this so that you have 2 sides. But you know, if you want to be a rebel and do it the other way, that's totally up to you. So you're going to fold your paper and have 2 sides to write on. All right. And all of this is on that agenda. I'm going right through it here. So I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. Okay, let's get into my phone here and get a timer set up. All right, got that. And I'm going to start it in a second. So I'm at 3 minutes. On the left side of the paper, write all the times in your school day that you could meet with teachers. Now, I know that's a loaded question, but go ahead and do that. Ready, set, go. Give me a thumbs up if you're done with that. Okay, I'll stop my timer. Looks to me like you're all done. Okay, so we've got all these times, and I'm anxious to see what you guys put in this because, of course, this may look differently if you're virtual or hybrid or combination, so there's probably a lot of different answers out there. All right, so now we're going to take another 3 minutes or maybe a minute and a half, and on the right side, write the extra duties and obligations that could take away from these times for both you as a coach and from the teachers. You're looking from your own perspective and from the teacher's perspective. So looking at these times you just wrote on the right, on the left, write down what things could take away from that, what could cause some issues. Ready, set, go. Still looks like some people are writing, so I'm gonna keep going here. Thumbs up if you're done. Okay. All right, so now how might we create more time for coaching for both teachers and coaches? Write your ideas on the back of the paper. So once again, how might we create more time for coaching for both teachers and coaches? Or you can cross out coaches and say, you know, put whatever your title is, write your ideas on the back of the paper. So I'll give you a few minutes for that.
Tammy, I had to step away from the computer. What was the prompt on that last one?
The last one is how might we create more time for coaching for both teachers and us? So both from both perspectives again, what might be some ways to get more time for that? Write your ideas on the back. So far we've said here's times we can do it. We've said here's some things that might hold us up. Now we're saying how might we create more time? I'm not sure we can create time. Maybe it's find time. Wouldn't that be great if we could create time? Oh. Now, once you get those written, the next thing they want you to do is to circle your top 3 ideas that seem feasible. Now, some of you might say, hey, I only came up with 3 ideas. So maybe just mark your best. Maybe how about top 2? Your top, mark them 1 and 2, and we'll go with that. Okay, thumbs up if you're done. Looks like we just got a couple more. Oh, there's one. Okay. All right. So what I'd like to do now is break you guys up into groups. And this time I'm going to get smart and say, when you break up, make sure that you have somebody that is willing to come back and talk to the whole group and give us a little bit of a summary about what you did. So maybe take some notes so that when you come back, you can, and I've got some questions here for you to be able to come back and talk with us about. And what you'll do, I'm going to break you into groups, and then you're going to share round robin your top ideas that you came up with in that last section. And you may want to even go back and revisit those first two sections. When can you meet, and what are some of the obstacles? That might be interesting to talk with each other about that and see what comes up. But then look at your ideas, share those around, see what you think. They have a link there, Make Time for Coaching. There's some visuals that you can look at if you need to. And then what I'd like you to do is then saying, okay, so here's our ideas to kick this off. Now, how do you kick it off? How are you going to make this how are you going to make this happen? What are your steps? What's a kickoff going to look like? When you click the link there, if you do that, where it says kicked off their coaching programs here, you're going to see some big parties. And a lot of them are face-to-face. Obviously, it's pre-COVID. So a lot of their ideas aren't going to be feasible for us. So you're going to have to be thinking in our realm and where we are right now, what might be some ways to create enthusiasm and to kick off an event. And I'm interested to hear from some of you guys too when you come back, if you've have started to make those steps with administrators and started to target some groups. And if so, what are you talking about numbers wise? I'm going to be surprised if some of you are taking on a whole building or something like that, because sometimes when I'm looking at these things that Google puts out, it looks like they're taking on a whole building, and I'm like, yikes. So I'm interested to see where you guys are at with that. And maybe talk a little bit about that. What have you done so far? What, if anything, to start this process? And then they want you to talk about what are some key components to include in your communication about coaching program. And they have some slides you can look at. So as you're putting this stuff out there and trying to get this kickoff going, what kinds of things might you put out there for communication? And then come back to the group. When you come back to the group, I want to know what you guys thought were the two best ideas for making time for coaching. So after looking at everybody's and stuff, give us a couple that you thought were really good. What was your favorite idea for kickoffs and communications? Okay. And I'm going to add one more thing to that and just say, I'm going to ask anybody to just kind of share with us if they've started the process, what that looks like so far. Have you talked to an administrator? Have you started to make a plan? What's it looking like when it comes to making these steps towards getting this kicked off? I saw someone just say they wanted the thing in the chat. I'll put it in there. It is in our Google Classroom. Oh, thank you, Tina. It's in Google Classroom as well. All right, so I'm gonna go in here. Any questions about what you're doing? It is in the document. You good? Okay. So I'm gonna go in here and do the magic breakout. And it looks like there's 36 of us. How about 6 groups of 6? Well, although there's 2 of us, it may not. We'll see how that works. We'll do 6 groups. All right, let me hit my breakout. And yeah, that looks pretty good. All right. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to open the rooms and let's give you, see, it's 8:22, 25 minutes. 25 minutes, okay? There we go. Karen, I think there might be a button on your screen. Karen, I think there might be a button on your screen that you need to click to go into your room. So we'll bring people back in 3 minutes. And here everyone comes. Woohoo!
We're back.
Yes, indeed. And I think we're good. Looks like we might all be back here. Oh, wait, there's still a couple more coming in. Hold on now. Okay, I think that's it. All right, well, I jumped in on a few of you guys and listened, and some good conversations going on. And what I'd like to do to kind of finish up our time here is each group have your person talk and tell us, number one, what were the two best ideas that your group talked about or came up with for making time for coaching? In other words, when does this coaching happen? And secondly, what was your favorite idea for kickoffs and communication for getting this thing going? And then I have one question after that that could go to anybody, and then we'll be done. So let's start off with group 3. Group 3, who's your spokesperson? Unmute and tell us about what you did.
I don't think we selected a spokesperson for our group. So unless someone wants to jump in, I'll be happy to answer the questions. So
you're it. Tag.
All right. So the first thing that we talked about, we basically just were giving all each other just credit for being here on the first day back, and it was a challenging day and stuff and whatnot. So one of the big suggestions that we talked about was just kind of like how to make this fit into our existing jobs and stuff, and not basically trying to make something like a pilot just to make this work. And we talked about some different ways of how we can maybe work with a department or a group of teachers that may get overlooked for technology. So like the ELA staff, or maybe some of the special needs programs or something, could be some good programs that we could work with and assist. So then just kind of finding creative times to work with people. One of the suggestions was that, especially at the elementary school level, not so much right now, but like typically it's just, there's a lot of assemblies and things where teachers are just sitting idle, that maybe we could tap into that time and work with some teachers during those, weekly assemblies, or, just, get working with them in that time period. We also talked about maybe, offering a program like outside of school hours, and tying it with sketches and stuff, and just trying to get outside of that normal school day, because it's impossible to coordinate schedules and get subs and stuff. So those are our biggest ideas, I guess. And it seemed like most of us were kind of on the same page and going through the same things. So it was refreshing kind of hearing that from everyone, and knowing that we're not doing this all alone. So.
What about your ideas for communication or kickoff? Anything exciting there?
I don't recall if we quite got to that in depth.
Okay.
I think we were just kind of talking more of how we could, focus on, working with a set group of teachers, just because, again, most of us with our role, it was, we're very spread out, we're working with different, buildings and things like that. So maybe just trying to identify that, good teacher audience that we could work with and try to make a impact on.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. How about group 4? Who's your spokesperson? Unmute and
I
talk
think
to
I
us.
volunteered. This is Andy. I would say one of the great ideas that came from Catherine Filkins from Gibraltar, and she talked about lesson plan retreats. And she said that they had some core things, topics that people would sign up for, and then roving subs to allow the teachers to have some time and to even make it more fun. A bakery donated some goods. They had a door prize to a spa. They had mocktails, and they've done that a couple times. Probably not doing it again until post-COVID, but they thought that was a very successful thing. And other districts also had roving subs. We talked about identifying some core apps. I'm sort of going to jump ahead a little here, but one of the things that Carissa Karnick shared was that they've identified some core apps, and she's created some training material, and she's already set up times with her principal where teachers can sign up to work with her one-on-one or small group. So those are a couple of our big ideas.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right. Group 1.
Hey everybody. So one of the things we came up with for making more time is the idea of a flux capacitor in a DeLorean. And when you hit 88, some serious stuff happens. But no, we really talked about one of the ideas that came up was putting it on the admin calendar and making sure so that when the administrator gets the call that there's no sub that morning, they can look at the calendar and say, oh, that coach is busy, not available for subbing. Because one of the things that happened in our conversation was so much of that release time that's built into the daily schedule was being eaten up as like, oh, we have to cover this class. And if you've ever, like, I know our specials teachers in our district have rarely taught their specials this year. You know, it's the reality of the situation. So one of the ideas that we talked about, though, was utilizing your state and federal programs coordinator or curriculum director and coming up with the idea of using the Title II grants for professional development to kind of give that opportunity to have pull-out time throughout the day. So you can have roving subs like Andy mentioned in that. For the communication and kickoff piece, we talked about food. If you feed people, they will come. I shared an experience where I did an after-school thing and I had a crock pot of taco meat going all day. Everybody showed up. Like, I don't know why, but everybody showed up and it worked out and it was great. We did milk and cereal the next time and it was a little less because you need that scent coming out too. One of the ideas there to kind of make this something that can happen is communicate with your food service. Like, I know that our food service person, if I asked for a pizza for teachers from the cafeteria, I'd have 2 pizzas for teachers from the cafeterias. So, you know, it's definitely one of those things that you can work with people and kind of find your community within the school. I'm fortunate to work in kind of like I call it a medium-sized district. We're a small Class B basketball school. Like, so if you're looking at the basketball stuff, we're kind of, you know, small. I know there's probably some Class D people in here kind of as that is super small, but definitely one of those things that, you know, is I have the opportunity to know a lot of people in the district and be able to ask those favors and know that those favors come back every time our food service person needs a Google form made. The email comes to me first, and then that way I can get pizzas easily. So definitely kind of be a helpful team player when you can too. So that's kind of what we talked about in our group. You know, definitely was a very good conversation. So.
Excellent. Thank you. How about group 2?
Was that us? I think,
see
oh,
heads
Ryan's
shaking.
nodding. Ryan's nodding. We made a jam board
Okay.
because, yeah,
It was Maria's idea. It was great.
I like Jamboard. Okay. So let me see. Can I present it? I don't know if I can.
By all means.
All right, here it comes. La, la, la. And look, you can all see yourselves now. All right, here we go. So our Jamboard involved game time ideas, which included during PD days, lunch dates, defined coverage, which is quite popular, designate a repeating coaching time after or before school, invite teachers perhaps to our classrooms as we're blending our tech and using it, so they can kind of see it in action with a live crew, and, you know, the PLC times. And we were looking at the kickoff ideas, and, you know, we had online breakout room games, kind of a coach's cart walks around the room, a treat and a quick chat, parody videos, trivia games, and our favorite, coaching coupons, where if you, the teacher, come to 2 coaching sessions, we give you a coupon where during our planning period, we come and relieve you for 15 minutes so you can have a little break. But you got to earn it. Earn it.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Good job. And last but definitely not least, how's our group 5?
All right, I think that's me since I took notes. So some things were, of course, already mentioned, that, and we didn't talk about a favorite for for the thing. So I guess I'll just have to kind of pick and choose. One person in our group said that their district is paying a $250 stipend for anyone who completes a full coaching cycle. So I thought that was interesting. And if you're virtual, or if you're even hybrid and partially remote or virtual, maybe those virtual days is when you really hit up the teachers for their time, because they have more planning time on those days, possibly if it's asynchronous or, you know, isn't a full 6 hours of instruction on the computer. it's not a way to gain time, but really saying no to admin if they ask for something extra that takes a half day or a full day is okay to do, so that you show that coaching time is precious. For building enthusiasm, someone shared about how they had like about an hour-long format online with their teachers, and they showed all these different options of modules to do for coaching and explain them, and then there was choice involved. So when the teachers have choice, they're more likely to engage and to commit. Some incentives for teachers who join a coaching session or coaching cycle, a lot like that coupon idea that Maria just shared, is just to make sure there's a drawing of some kind for planning time or food. Teachers' two favorite things, planning time and food. So that's what we have to contribute.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you everybody for that time. And, you know, I find it really, like I said, interesting because everybody's in such different situations. And, you know, some of you see some of your people in face to face. Maybe some of you are 5 days a week, maybe some are 4 or 3, however it works. And some of you may be still totally virtual. So I know that these ideas can certainly run the gamut. So I appreciate those. There's some good ideas in there. As I said, we're still in the last week of month 2. So if you haven't gotten through that curriculum, you know, give yourself some time to do that this week and it's starting to work you towards this idea of, you know, talking to the administrator and starting to get a plan, you know, for how this is going to go. You know, who are you going to focus on? Who's going to be a part of it? How is it going to work? So that's kind of what this one seems to be focusing on. So give some time for that. And I do apologize that it was the first night back that it's painful, Joe Rommel, who had to rub it in. But I will end tonight with a story because, Daniel, your little comment reminded me of a very funny thing that happened. So you mentioned flux capacitor, and of course that's our Back to the Future, which is, you know, of course, one of my favorite trilogy movies out there. So I'm at school, it's the week before break, and because most of our high school is all virtual, so there's not a lot of people in the high school where my office is, so it was freezing. So I put in a maintenance request and I said, please, will you turn on the heat? I'm like so cold. Well, there's one of the maintenance guys who, I just love him. He'll do anything for you, and he's the nicest guy. And he came down and they said, well, I think it's kind of broken. And I think what we have to do is we've got to put this ladder up here and I've got to go up and I've got to kind of get this fan going and stuff. I'm like, okay, that's great. Whatever you got to do, just get me some heat. So he's up there fiddling around and stuff like that. And all of a sudden I kind of heard it start going. And so I said, oh my gosh, John, it sounds like you got that thing going. And I said, what was the deal? And he says, well, you know, I think we're going to have to get a new flux capacitor for the heater. So I'll put that order in. And he's saying this with a straight face. And I'm in my mind, I'm like going, is he BSing me or what? And so he finished and I looked at him and I said, did you say flux capacitor? And he's like, yeah. And I said, that's my favorite movie. What are you trying to pull? And he starts cracking up and he says, you know, Tammy, I say that to almost everybody when I say I have to order things. I use the flux capacitor as my excuse. You're the first person that called me out on it. So I can just only see these teachers that he's saying flux capacitor and that kind of thing. And they're all going, yeah. Like, did you just say what I think you said? And he said it with a straight face. So if that doesn't make you smile, I don't know what will. On that note, thank you so much for coming in tonight. And I did record this if you want to go back through it, and I'll be posting that. There's going to be that section where we go into breakout teams. Of course, you don't see that, so it's kind of fast forward to the end to when we come back. But other than that, it's been wonderful seeing you, and I will talk with you soon. If you want to talk, I'll sit here for a few minutes if there's anyone that wants to talk to me before you leave. So have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.
Happy New Year!
Hi, Tammy. I would
Hi.
like to talk to you just really quickly. So,
I have a question too after.
I
Okay,
had
no problem.
mentioned how I'm a school teacher. So in my building, it's a K-8 building. It's just one building for the whole district. And I currently teach kindergarten and first grade simultaneously, online and in person.